Me and Phil own a boat.
We're attempting to turn this £10,000 lump of steel into a £100,000 luxury canal boat. And this is the 100 jobs that we need to do to complete our narrowboat. The only problem is we've only got 2 weeks to do it in. We've broken our list up into 4 categories. And one of the first and most important jobs we need to do is get a long wait for our boat, and I'm going to be sending Brad to go and get that.
Where do I get that from?
MGN.
Yo, Alex, what's up?
Hey, bro, you alright?
How you doing, brother? You okay?
Good, man.
Phil sent me here to get a long wait.
Long wait?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just go around the front and we're gonna bring it out for you.
Now that Brad's gone, I've got 99 problems and Brad ain't one. When we boarded the ceiling inside of our boat, we went over the openings for our vents. So now it's time to drill them out, and we're doing that from the top so that we can add our covers. This wasn't an oversight, we did this on purpose, because this way we can drill in each corner and know that wherever we cut our holes it's going to be exactly where we need them, rather than measuring and hoping for the best. Our boat has 3 vents, one at the front, one in the middle and one at the back. So with our 4 holes that we've drilled, we use the vent as a guide, mark it, and then we cut it out with the jigsaw, and we can get our vents installed. All the while, Brad is still waiting for that long wait. Another thing to note about our vents is they match the layout of our boat. So we've got one in the bedroom, one over the shower, and of course one over the kitchen. Vent covers, as easy as that, they're done. We've done the high level vents, now it's time for the low level vents, and that's part of the BSS. And of course we're having something a little bit fancy. Thanks to VSP Engineering, they have cut us these, and look at them on the door. They look lovely. Lovely? I think they look beautiful. So we thought it'd be a good idea to take the name of the boat and move that onto the vents, and VSP Engineering made it happen for us. So now that we've marked out where they're going to go, we used the track saw, and when I say we, I mean me, to cut out the hole through our bow door and our stern door. I did have to use the jigsaw on the last little sections, of course, but now that I've used the track saw, the holes are pretty square all the way through. This is a letterbox. No, it's not, it's a vent. So we've cut out the hole for our vent, and my plan is, it's a bit ambitious, I'll be honest, but I want to veneer inside. I think the whole build is ambitious, but if you don't try, you'll never know. So I got on with trying to install the veneer into the little letterbox opening, and thankfully I did a pretty good job. That's our letterboxes cut open. Now we can put on our hinges. On the front, back, whatever door this is, I think it's the stern door, we're going to be installing 3 hinges. That way we ain't got to worry about it sagging in the future. Hinges are done, but hinges are no good without a handle, and our handle needs to be able to lock. And of course we went with black to match everything else. First job when installing a multi-lock like we've got here is to drill a hole through the door, and then we can slide the lock mechanism in and start looking at the handles. In goes our bar. We mark out for our screws because these go all the way through, that way they never become loose, and you screw through into the other handle. And now we can put in the barrel, and we're using a twist thumb lock.
I'm back from a long wait, which wasn't very funny, and now I'm going to start installing the trims.
The bit of ply at the bottom of the gunnel has got a lot of flex in it, and that is why we're using these angled ones, because as you put these on and screw them in, and then that's it, takes the flex out of that.
You may have noticed that the kitchen is all of a sudden uninstalled itself. That's because we started these trims in the last video, and now it's time to finish them. So we've got some angles for the bottom of our walls where the gunnels are, And then on all of the joins in our ply, we're going to be using some flat pieces of trim. And they're only 6mm thick. And because everything connects to everything else, we need to do a lot of miters. This part here is to go around our windows, and we connect the joints using some miter bond. Well, Brad does. So yes, Brad is doing some work for once. I know, it's a Christmas miracle. And it's not even Christmas yet. Christmas miracle over, Brad has given the job to Pete, who's meant to be doing the plumbing, and then I take over and start trimming out our roof light. These are the trims we're using on our boat to finish it up, but for the lights we didn't want that much trim going all the way around it. So what I've done, I've took a trim and I've taken the middle out, or I've shrunk it down and then remitered it. I made up 6 of those because we have 6 LEDs throughout our boat. 2 in the bedroom, 2 in the bathroom, 2 in the galley or the kitchen, someone told me about that, and also 2 in the living room area. So everything is being screwed, we're not gluing anything because it is a boat and it vibrates a lot. It was an easy job, but a job needed doing nonetheless. The trims serve multiple purposes. 1, to cover up the gaps in our balls, and 2, the bottom ones also add rigidity to the bottom of our balls, so we needed those. And the reason we're not filling and sanding like you would in your house is because the boats vibrate and expand and contract so much it would never last. That's the reason we use trims instead of filler, and we use ply rather than plasterboard. Well, that's my understanding of it anyway. The walls, or the living room and kitchen walls, are trimmed, so we've done around the windows and the internal corners there. Next up is ceiling, or is it the roof? I'm sure someone will correct us on the actual terminology for this part, but either way, we started to get our trims installed to the ceiling of our boat, and just like the walls, that's going to help hold all of our ply in position and stop it from moving around.
Next up on our big list of things to do to get this narrowboat out of the unit, we need to fit this vent. But you know me, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get my good friend Joe to do it.
Let's go. I want to make sure that both sides match up. So I'm going to take a few measurements from this side and transfer it to that side and make sure they're both symmetrical.
Joe, or Screed Pappy, doesn't actually do this as a job, but like everyone else, we're making him do something he shouldn't be. So normally Joe is doing a little bit of screed, hence the name Screed Pappy.
Just like that.
That is the hole drilled into our boat. We get it all cleaned up, ready for the vent. And this vent is responsible for the water tank. So the water that you would actually be drinking that goes to your taps. We feed out the hose, get it strapped onto the vent, a little bit of silicone, and then we get it fixed into position.
That's another job complete for the boys off their massive list. We're going to get in here, we're going to build and install the last remaining bulkhead. We're going to tackle this bulkhead, but we're not going to measure it with a tape measure. We're going to template it with some offcuts of MDF.
Joe said he's never done any carpentry, but after watching him, I'm not too sure that's true.
So this trick is perfect for shapes, but not for the ceiling where it's round. So I'm going to scribe it.
This was Joe's first try at doing a scribe, and I think he done a pretty good job at it. And with this little template that they've made up, they can take this off, and it's going to be a lot easier to get the bulkhead cut first time spot on. So mark around the template, and it's time to get out the track saw and start cutting along the template lines. This bulkhead is one of the more complicated ones because we've got to cut out for our 2 windows, including the door in the middle. So we've decided to split this into 2 halves to try and help make it a little bit more manageable. So we've got a window in one side and half the door, and a window in the other half and the other half of the door.
It's good. They're not getting any closer to getting the boat out the doors, so I'll just help them with this list of jobs. One of them is test the heating, and I'm pretty good at that, so I'll do that. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to connect these up temporarily just so we can pressure test the system. So I'll just do that.
This is going to save filling it up and then finding a potential leak later on, which is going to cause a lot of damage. So it's always better to air test first.
So we've capped off one side there, and then we've put a pump on one side, and then we're going to fill it up, and if this thing drops, then we know we've got a problem, don't we, Peter?
Yeah, we won't have any problems. We're going to take it up to 1.5 bar. Now we wait. We've tested the diesel heater coil. There's two sources of heat, one from the diesel heater, one from the engine. We've tested the diesel heater side and there wasn't a single leak. We'll do the other side now. That's the two circuits from the diesel heater and the engine tested, and now I've got to test the hot and cold, haven't I? So this is the pump that feeds the cauliflower. I'm going to take this off and test it from here, so I can test the hot and cold at the same time.
Basically, there's three individual circuits: the coil from the engine, the coil from the diesel heater, and the water supply itself. And that is what we're testing.
We're going to test this one to 3 bar because we've got a PRV on this system that lets go at 3 bar. So it'd be pointless testing it any higher, or lower, in fact.
You may notice there's no P. That's because during our air test, this PRV, because we used the old calorifier, actually failed. So I've had to order a new one. I have installed it, so it's time to retest our plumbing, and fingers crossed it doesn't fail again. Been on test for about 10-15 minutes and we are holding lovely on both gauges actually.
So we've sorted that problem. On to the next job. I need to fill this tank up here so I can properly flush test the sink, the toilet, and have a hot shower. Maybe I'll have a hot shower while I'm here.
Maybe you won't, because this is somebody else's boat for when they win it. So after talking Brad out of using the shower, we get the tank filled up with water.
The first thing we're going to test is the toilet. We're going to open up the valve. I'm going to let Penny do that. I'm going to film her, and fingers crossed, and we're just going to work our way one appliance at a time.
Brad's even managed to scam our landlord into doing his jobs.
We got hot water!
So we filled up the cistern. We're now going to press this to fill up the bowl and then see if the macerator works.
Hot, cold. In the basin works. Toilet works. Macerator works. Chlorifier works. Tank works. That tank works.
Next up, testing the shower.
We've got something. The shower's working. That is all the sink, basin, toilet, shower, complete. It works. I'm happy. So now I can get that bulkhead on.
Even with the bulkhead on, you're still going to be able to access the pump, and that's quite important.
Another job we need to do to get this boat out of the unit, and that is install a split charger. But Phil is refusing to do any more electrics on the boat. That's why we've got Joe in. Shatning.
Apparently, it's somewhere under here, so let's have a look.
I wasn't really refusing, I just didn't want to do it. So lucky for me, we've got Joe. And Joe is a fully qualified electrician, so this is right up his alley. The first job he's going to be doing for us is installing this split charger from Onboard Energy, and that's going to go next to our isolators. That way everything's in the same location and easy to find. The way this works is the alternator, when the engine is running, charges its own battery, so it's got its own battery. But once that's full, it will switch over to the leisure batteries or the house batteries and charge those. That way the energy from the alternator is never being wasted. We're going to save all of it.
Next up, remove the link, make a link, and then make another link, and then plug it all in and bolt it all together.
And that'll make the split charger work.
Man, you guys make it seem so easy, the way you explain everything. So, what they're actually trying to say is, when we originally wired this, we wired it to not have a split charger. So we need to remove one of the link cables, and now they can put in their own link cable that's going to go to the split charger. See, it's easy when you explain how it works. Then the battery gets connected, and that is the split charger installed.
Connected, 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 connected. Done.
Another job, but this one is from the comment section, and don't worry, we did already buy these, the bottle straps. So we have got to strap these bottles in place so they don't have a good time, and this is what we're going to be using. Rightfully so, you guys commented about our bottles being loose, but that was only because we hadn't got round to installing the strap yet. So now we can get our bottles strapped in place. We've got our drain at the bottom, our bottle strapped, we've got our regulator, our tester and our isolator. So I think the gas side should be passable. So we've pulled the engine out so that we can give this whole bay a fresh lick of paint. Now it looks like brand new again. And we've got some other jobs. The amount of work we'd been doing in the engine bay, it was looking a little bit scruffy. So it made sense to remove the engine because it's quite easy to do now and give it a fresh lick of paint.
Another job on the list is adding dynamat everywhere, and that is to help prevent the noise of the engine inside your new home.
And this is from Dynamat, and it controls heat and sound.
Next up, we need to connect this here. This is the diesel heater, but we've got two hoses that is coming from the central heating, so I'm going to connect these up.
These two hoses are what you see Pete test earlier, so that is going to be one of the coils inside our calorifier. So the diesel heater has a pump, an out and in, and of course it has an expansion vessel or a header tank as well. We've tested our pipe work and we've installed the heater. Now we can fill it up, and we have to put antifreeze in, and we're doing a 50-50 mix. To get that spot on, we used a 20-litre drum, filled it up with 10 litres of antifreeze, and then topped the rest up with the water. We then cycled the pump on the heater to try and get any of the air out. It is now pulling the water from this tank through the system. It might not ignite straight away because it's got to pull the diesel out of the tank, but now Brad is going to try and bleed the rads.
Now I'm bleeding the rads by just opening up the valves on the side. That will let the air escape so the water can go all the way to the top.
And we do this same process on all three of our radiators, making sure there's no air left in the system.
It's all bled up. Let's see if we can get it to fire up. Yes. I think that's it. That's it. Ah!
It's on. It's on. Stayed on. That's what sounds like a diesel. Great success! That's hot. Like hot. That's impressive. This boat's going to be so hot. Oh, so hot. Let's not let any of this hot air escape out of our boat. Uh-oh. Now fill it. Oh, yeah, fill that.
Aye! Jesus Christ!
Whoa, yeah, that's hot. That is really hot. While the engine's out, we're also going to be wrapping our exhaust to try and control the temperatures in our bay, and we're going to be using some heat wrap. This is from Funk Motorsport. These guys only do the best, and we only install the best. Funk Motorsport specialise in heat management, including turbo jackets and exhaust jackets. So they have sent us out this exhaust wrap, and this is going to help control the temperatures in our engine bay. Part of the BSS, we need a fuel isolator. The reason we didn't install this originally is because it hadn't arrived. Now it has. We're going to install it. Because we're using aluminium hardline, it's quite easy to install. We just cut it and it goes on using these compression fittings. And as long as it's tight, this stuff never leaks. And now we are complying with the BSS. That is the isolator installed. Now it's time to try and put the engine back in. Between me, Brad and Penny, our landlord, we've done this 3 times, so it's really not that difficult to do anymore. I think it takes us about 20 minutes. So we use some straps to get it tied up onto the Manitou. Lovely. And then we can lower it back into our engine bay and on to its mounts. There's 4 mounts. The trickiest part of this whole thing is making sure we don't smash up our new paint.
That is the engine back in the bay. Now we're going to reconnect the propeller and all the auxiliaries.
The engine is about 36, maybe 37 years old, so there really isn't a lot to connect. It's not like your modern day engine with 600 sensors. There's literally a coolant sensor, an oil pressure sensor, and of course the exhaust and the manual controls. So it doesn't take too long to reinstall. Another job we did that we hadn't originally was to add a gasket and 4 bolts to the exhaust.
That is the engine running mint. We've run it up to temperature. We have no leaks. The alternator works. Everything is working. So we can put this thing back together.
Starting with the tiller. The tiller's just 2 bolts, so it's pretty easy to remove. And then in goes our removable floor. Before we install our deck, I want to show you this. So this boat never had a fan in the bay. Now it does. And the purpose of this is to extract the hot air out, and then fresh air can be pulled in over there. So let's install this. When our engine went to Revolution Marine Engineering and was rebuilt, one of the causes that we suspected was overheating. So this time we are able to keep the bay a little bit cooler with no extra work to the engine itself. So the fan can pull in nice cool fresh air. The only problem is we did have to drill a hole in our deck. Before we install our doors, I need to put in the vents, and we didn't put them in before because we was waiting for the screws. Which is kind of ironic because one of the big delays that we've had doing this boat is the silly little things like screws, bolts, nuts and washers. So if you are going to attempt this, make sure you've got that in bulk. Time to get our doors installed onto our boat, and I'm going to do that by notching out our hinges. 1, 2, 3. No, I do not speak French, that's all I know. So we mark out our hinges. I use a story stick, which is a stick with the positions of the hinges from the door. And then I notch them out and we can get our door hung. And there's 3 on this because that's what we installed. Like the original, the rear door or the stern door will open into our boat, but the bow door will open out. So we've kept it just as it was before, and we think that that makes the best use of the space that we've got available on our boat. Although this electrical section here looks lovely, we are going to be covering it up, so I need to make a little box and a door to cover all this up, and that's what I'm going to do now. Technically, if we've done everything correct, you shouldn't need to access this ever again. But if something was to go wrong or you wanted to work on the system, it is ideal to have access to it. So the cupboard needs to be openable. We need to be able to get to everything inside of this cupboard because we've got the 12 volt system in here, we've got the 240 volt system in here, and we've also got all of the charging system, including the inverter. I'm going to be making this out of 18mm ply, just like everything else in the boat, except this is 18mm because we want to make doors on the front, so it needs to have a little bit more strength in it. And just like when we did the bulkheads, the top of our cupboard does need scribing because the roof or the ceiling is slightly rounded.
Now it's the exciting part. We come down to MGN's to pick the colour of this narrowboat, and we have this wide selection here, and I'm going to spin it, and whatever it lands on, that's what we're painting it, even if it's pink. I'm going to be picking one colour from this chart, but I'm not going to show you guys until we're at the boat because it's going to be a surprise.
Because MGN has a Dulux paint mixing machine, Brad picked pretty much anything, definitely wasn't random, and then gave them the colour and they got it mixed up, ready to go back to the boat and get it on our ply.
The time has come, which is very exciting, to start decorating this boat, and I have got our good friend Dan who's going to help us do some decorating.
Because we've got Brad, well, no more needed, and Dan who does composite, it seemed like a good idea to tape everything. I'm sure his paint skills are amazing, but let's not take any chances.
That's all the windows masked up, now onto the skylight.
We do have a little bit of play when it comes to cutting these in because we will be adding a silicone seal, but let's try not to make a mess.
We're all masked up, now let's get some prime on the wall.
Because this is raw timber or ply, we can't just go putting our paint colour directly onto the walls. We need to add a proper wood primer, and that's exactly what we've got here. We would have loved to do the oiled wood look, but we're trying to aim for that modern, contemporary kind of look. And we've decided the walls needed to go into colour. So Dan and Brad start adding on the primer, and this is going to be 2 coats, making sure it's laid on as flat as possible, because if it's not, it's only going to show in the top coat.
That is the first wall on the Narrowboat painted, and it's starting to look like a house again. Well, it didn't really in the beginning. It was a bit battered, but we're getting somewhere, Dan.
We're getting somewhere. We're definitely getting somewhere.
Don't know where, but we're going somewhere.
Well, both of these are now going somewhere, nobody knows where, but they're going there with a paintbrush, and that's all that matters, because everything is getting a coat of primer. Although we've already installed our doors, what we haven't done is the furniture, so the handles, the locks and the little finger pulls. So I'm going to start installing those right now. The reason you need finger pulls on a pocket door is because this folds away flush. You wouldn't really be able to get it back out. So this gets the initial little pull, and then you can grab the second handle, which is what I'm installing now. So these are a lot bigger and a lot easier to get a hold of, and you can slide your door fully closed. To install these, I start out by drilling the bulk of the material, and then I use my chisel to knock out the middle, and then I can recess the handle itself using the router. And of course, just like everything else, they're going to be black to match in with the theme of our boat.
We are moving through the decorating very fast. We've got the whole front room in primer. We have prepped the ceiling. We've also added these little buttons over the screw holes to make them look very pretty. And now we're going to do the final coat on the ceiling.
Although we're having colour on our walls, we are still going to have a fully white ceiling, and we're going to have white architrave around our door. So we get on with putting multiple coats on the ceiling. So we've got 2 primer and 2 top coat. A little job we've got in our bedroom is a small set of stairs. It's only 2 steps, but we need that so that we can get out onto the bow. The most important thing we need to remember when building these stairs is that the 2 treads that we're going to have are equal, and that this whole thing is removable because it's going to be in front of our water pump. So we want to be able to access it if there's ever a problem in the future. Plus the tanks behind there. So we get that all marked out and cut out using our track saw. That is the sides. Might not look equal, that's because we've got a little bit extra on our boat. So we've got 3 equal steps. Now we can fix this to the back.
That is the front room and the kitchen ceiling completely white. But there is another 2 rooms to this boat, and that is the bathroom, which the ceiling needs to be prepped, and this bedroom where it looks really good now it's all trimmed up. We want to get it painted.
Painting this boat is becoming quite a big job because there's so many small little areas and trims.
That is the ceiling in primer. Now we need to move on to the walls.
We're going to be painting down as far as we can, although a bed eventually will be blocking most of the bottom out. We think it's important that they're painted and protected. So that's exactly what we do. And being the professionals that we are, we make sure we tape everything up so we don't get paint on it.
On the front and back doors, we're adding something called a weather strip. And it does what it says. It keeps the weather out your boat, but it's a different type to the one that Phil installed on the sliding ones because they're just brushes. So I'll get them installed.
We need to make sure that when we install these, they're not too tight that the door doesn't operate, but they're tight enough so that they keep any breezes and weather out of the boat. Although there is a big vent in the bottom of the door anyway. But that's the BSS, that's not us. With those installed, back to the painting. So we need some more coats on the ceiling to make it perfectly white.
We are now going to show you guys at home what colour we have chosen for this boat. Is it pink? We have chosen a neutral, stony, greygy colour. We want to keep it nice, bright and breezy in here because it is a narrowboat. So we want to make it look as wide as possible. Now, if you're not happy with the colour, we want to just win it. We've done all the prep work, you can just roll over the edges and change the colour. But for now, let's see what this one looks like on the walls.
I'm going to be honest, that just looks white on the camera, but we can assure you it's not. As you can see, once it's against a bit of white, it's just a little bit darker, a nice natural colour, and it just adds a little bit of a modern look to our very old narrowboat. And now even I'm having to paint because there's just so much of it.
As you can see, the bedroom is starting to look like a bedroom now. We are going to add some colour to the walls.
And that needed to be done pretty quickly because we had a little guest come in to help us make the beds. And they was arriving in about an hour. So it was full steam ahead in the bedroom. And we're using the exact same colour throughout.
That is the bedroom walls all painted, and as you can see,
It's looking very bright and warm.
Oh, that's what I was looking for. It's warm in here. Very inviting. So we've got DB back in and Aaron to build us a custom-made bed for this bedroom.
We've got these bits of equipment to cover over, so we're going to be making 2 sofas either side, which are going to turn in to a double bed of an evening. It's going to be very comfy.
If we was to go back in time, about 8 months actually, you would see that the bed that was in this boat originally was shocking. They'd just wedged a mattress into the room, so you had to climb on the bed to get out onto the bow. And we didn't want to have to do that. We want a proper walkway and a proper set of stairs. So the idea is we're going to have 2 small beds on each side, but they can be converted into one large bed when you want to go asleep. That way we're utilising as much space as we can and keeping the boat looking as fresh as possible. Dan also come up with the idea of this little cubby hole at the end of the bed, so now you've got somewhere to store some of your clothes and your shoes and your pillows and your duvets. Well, it looks like you're going to have to put a lot of stuff in that cubby hole. And just as important, this bed needed to be super strong.
The left hand side of our seating / folding out bed is ready. Now we're going to jump onto this side, get the frame on this side built, put the head through, then we can crack on and looking at the flippity flat back.
This side was going to be the same as the other. The only thing they needed to make sure is that it was flat from one to the next.
So the frameworks for these sofa / beds are in. The lads are out the back now just cutting the sides. So the first thing we're going to do is get the sides on. This bit we've got to cut a little alcove because we created a little bit more storage underneath there. So here it comes through the window. Let's get cracking.
Who's out there?
Aaron?
Have some wood for you.
Have some wood.
Here we go.
We are going to be sticking and screwing the fronts of the bed, but the top we're only going to be screwing. That way if you ever need to access the tank, the calorifier or any of the plumbing that's underneath, you can just unscrew the top and remove it. So with the fronts done, we can then get on with cutting the tops, and we're going to be doing that in 2 halves.
For that, I think you need to head over to my channel, DB Builders Sussex. Hit that like and subscribe button, baby. And that is the most beautiful scribe ever.
We've had to call in a favour from our good friend Russell Lamberton from Off the Loom. He's on short notice, might I add. He has made us a custom runner for this staircase and come out of his way on a Saturday, so I can't thank him enough.
We've known Russell for a very long time, and when it comes to runners, there's nothing he doesn't know. This is what he does. So he specialises in making the runners, And this particular one is an off the loom carpet and a jasper binding. So that's that little piece that goes on the side. So we went a little bit above and beyond for our staircase to make sure it's special, just like our boat. Russell come in on a Saturday to get this done for us, so big shout out to him.
It's 2 single beds, or it could be 1 massive king size bed. If you've had a row with your partner,
Get over there!
you ain't got to sleep in the same bed.
And then if they really annoy you,
Yeah. Right, let's do a demonstration. I'm not speaking to you tonight.
neither am I. Living room and kitchen area, this bit is now painted, so I'm going to pull all of this protection off so we can start adding stuff back in. And that really is as easy as it sounds. We just pulled everything back off, including the 600 meters of green masking tape. We are having a sofa here, and what do you want to do on your sofa? You want to watch a TV. So the TV is going to go right here. So we got ourselves a swivel bracket, and I installed that into the batten behind our ply to make sure it could take the weight of the TV. And now we can push this thing right back to the wall, and it's going to be nice, flush and out of your way. And of course we need to add some shelves, so we've gone with black and an oak looking shelf, once again to tie in with the theme of our boat.
The decorating is complete in the living area. Now we're going to transform it doing some flooring.
Although this room's complete, without the flooring it just looks incomplete. So we are installing our vinyl flooring, and we've gone with an oak looking herringbone style vinyl, and this is also a felt back, so it's a little bit stronger than your typical vinyl. And to install it, I'll just do what I've been doing for many years. So if you didn't know, me and Brad originally were floor installers.
With the vinyl, we are fixing it down with some double-sided impact tape, and what that is something that we can fix it down and it will hold the vinyl down in place. But if we need to get access underneath, you can just pull it back up. So this vinyl is designed to be rolled all the way back up if we need to get to the ballast.
While we're wrapping up this vinyl, don't forget this boat is up for raffle, and you can win it for just £5 by visiting ukcarptech.com or clicking the link that will be in the description. The only difference on installing this vinyl is normally we put a silicone seal around our vinyls, but this one we won't, because we need to be able to lift it up.
The vinyl floor is installed. There's one more job we need to complete in this room, and that is to seal everything up. Al, is that going to take our job from a 7
to a 10?
to a 10. So Al from Seal Right Sealants is here. He's going to make everything in this room look perfect. We did it! We got all the jobs done!
We didn't get all the jobs done.
No, that's the ending I wanted.
Well, unlucky. So we tried our hardest. It is currently nearly 6:30 on a Saturday, and we need to edit this and get it out to you today. You'll be watching it today, but it's tomorrow.
There's a load more jobs to do.
There's just too much to do. We're left with 28 jobs on the board. But catch us on the next one. This boat will be in the water.
Just remember, you can get a raffle ticket for this amazing boat. It's coming to an end for just £5 at ukcarptech.com. Links in the description below. Love you, bye.
Ooh, that was a lot of words.
100% real. He's got a weird fetish, he likes smelling. Oh, so nice.